from His Royal Highness the Duke of Kent. The cup goes to Frank McLintock and the Arsenal.
The sheer magnitude of Arsenal's double achievement was almost overshadowed by the suspense and drama of winning both trophies in the last 6 days of the season. Yet 10 months earlier, there was little evidence that Frank McLintock and his men would rewrite the history books. Before the season had started, Peter Simpson and John Samuels had suffered serious injuries. Charlie George had broken his ankle in the first game. But slowly, a side of great character took shape, with a new kid called Kennedy fitting in well.
Played very well and turned on nicely there by George Graham. Graham again, number 11. Good Arsenal move building up here now as Kelly looks to put it in, but now Rice, perhaps he'll get a chance to put it into that penalty area. Oh, and beaten all like brother. Hennessy losing the ball and Rice still going on. And Derby getting themselves into all sorts of trouble there. Now Kelly. Good cross by Kelly, well taken by Les Green. Really straightening high for there, and a good cross by Eddie Kelly. Arsenal's best move of the match so far. Well, it seems that the shouting match on the terrace has got a little more warmth and passion to it than the match on the pitch itself. But here's Radford. And a break by Armstrong and McFarlane getting there first, and Kelly going in. Kelly! Oh, great piece of opportunism by Eddie Kelly. The pace of Kelly really made that one as he pounced on that pass back, took it round Les Green and quickly found the back of that Derby County net to put Arsenal ahead. And Armstrong with Derby claiming that he was offside, but the linesman keeping his flag down. Armstrong still going on and just failing to poke that one through by the near post. While Derby were waiting and half appealing, Armstrong was going on, and three men converging on him just to prevent him scoring. Arsenal's throw. George Graham. That's aimed towards Radford. Up he goes! Oh, Radford! My goodness, what a leap! Beautifully timed there. The cross from Graham. And Radford leaping superbly to time it and head it into that Derby net for number 2. So Arsenal 2 ahead with 20 minutes of the second half gone. Always a rest this afternoon for Don Howe out of his seat again. Beating Derwin, a little flick there wide of Hector. Beautiful play. This is much better now from Arsenal. McNabb, Radford, McNabb. Turn there under that crossbar and pushed away by Green. Oh, a really brilliant move there by Arsenal.
And now let's meet our guest, George Armstrong. And let me tell you, first of all, how he came to be our guest. We went into the Arsenal dressing room at the end of the match yesterday and asked the players who they would most like to see from their team on the programme today. Unanimously, they plumped for George Armstrong, saying his form over the last couple of months has been fabulous. Here's George with Jimmy Hill.
Well, George, that's praise indeed from your own teammates.
To thank the lads myself on Monday, I think.
You won't share the fee with them, will you?
No, not at all, no.
George, how long have you been at Arsenal?
Well, this is my 10th season now, Jimmy.
And how do you feel the club has progressed in that time? I mean, are Arsenal as great now, as good as they've ever been?
Well, in that time, I've certainly seen good individuals, but this team at the present time is the best I've played in.
What is there about the team that makes it extra special?
Well, just the spirit in the team. Everybody's fighting for one another. And that's about it. You know, they've got faith in each other, and there's a lot of skill in the team, actually, as well.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because some Arsenal fans feel that there still isn't enough skill in the middle of the field. Do you think there is skill there?
Well, I suppose every team's got room for improvement, but at the moment, I can't see anybody getting our team at the moment, you know.
By the end of November, Simpson and Samuels were back as the pursuit of Leeds, the championship favourites, continued.
Radford. One towards the near post, and the heads are there. And Kennedy very nearly in a position to turn it in. And winning a corner, Ray Kennedy, badly wanting a goal, although he's the top scorer with 13. He's only scored 1 goal in the last 7 games for Arsenal. Now on that Liverpool goal line, waiting for Armstrong's corner. Kelly was right in there. Simpson. And a little too far ahead for anybody in that Arsenal attack. McClintock organising things at the back and for once coming forward with the reserves watching, and there's such a tremendous competition here at Arsenal for first-team places. Charlie George, you notice, with the long hair in the middle. And on the right, of course, Peter Marinello. And that wall surely has got to move back a little further, but just chipped in there. And Lloyd not getting it away. Story bursting through. And a ricochet off the Liverpool defence. Story really caught it. A little too ambitious, that one, too. And Armstrong following in beautifully as Lindsay hesitated. Beating Hughes. There's the cross. Samuels. Radford. And it'll come to McNabb. Men are waiting in the middle. And so is Lindsay. Straight to Samuels on the half volley. Toshak penalised. Arsenal's free kick. McClintock. Radford. Story trying to push his way through. Kennedy now for John Samuels! He really is in the mood for it this afternoon, Samuels. And it looks as though it's Eddie Kelly who's going off. Kelly then is going off, and George Graham. Kelly just sitting down at the back there, off the field. McNabb with a throw. Oh, that was too casual a pass by Story, and Highway is really away. Oh, good work by Wilson. A really great smother save by Bob Wilson. Spreading himself beautifully there to provide Highway with the smallest possible target. All of that coming from one rather casual pass in midfield by Peter Story. Tremendous run by Steve Highway. There can't be many faster men in football than him. Ross. Oh, and now Graham. Flicked off for Samuels. Graham! Oh, a fine goal! George Graham! And what a goal it was! That was unstoppable! A magnificent 1-2. And Graham on the volley, giving Clements no chance. There by Graham, and he's flicked on for Kennedy. Oh, and surely he will score. Radford! After Kennedy made such a meal of it, with Liverpool claiming offside. And Radford, who finally put it in, when it seemed that Kennedy had lost the chance and Lloyd might have got it away. So 2-0.
Well, we're playing. I think we're not playing just as well as we were, say, 3 or 4 weeks ago. But if you're going to try and win a championship or challenge for a championship, you'll have sticky spells, and sometimes you'll be a little bit lucky, and other times you'll probably be unlucky. Like I thought we were a few weeks ago against Crystal Palace. I thought we played well enough to win, and we didn't get the result, and we were a little bit disappointed. But
Well,
usually
now,
evens itself out in time.
yesterday you didn't get the goal early on against his defence, but of course when you did get it, Bill Shankly said it was offside. We can now look and see exactly how it came about.
Well, the Arsenal forwards here do a lot of challenging here, putting the defence under pressure. I think that's John Samuels just wins the ball there to George Graham. George draws the man in, plays it to John Samuels, and a beautiful chip over his head. And you can see George is well onside, and he connects with a beautiful volley. And there's no chance of that ball being offside there, Jimmy, I don't think. No chance at all.
It's indicative, really, of the Arsenal method, the way in which you put defences under pressure to win the ball. I don't think sometimes the supporters really understand this because they look upon you as a hard, grinding side, but you have to win it before you can play that kind of football.
Of course you do, and it's very difficult to keep this sort of tackles in. You know, if you're diving from one player to another, you have to get it done collectively by your forwards, or else you'll just get shattered after 20 minutes. And you can see just from that goal there was about 3 players involved there. There was Peter Storey, John Samuels and George Graham, and eventually we won the ball, a good 1-2, and it finished up with a goal.
Yet after dropping only 2 points in 12 games, the year ended in wintry frustration.
Simpson. McGrath away. Armstrong. Kennedy with Graham's gone into the middle and Radford's already there. Here's Graham again, a back header. Radford! Oh, fine build-up. Armstrong fighting for it and finding that Fisher is fighting just as hard, but Armstrong winning that one, taking on Kirkup again. Another good little cross there by Armstrong. Radford going in and Martin getting it fractionally above his head. Up for it. Rice is there. Graham with his head. Oh, and he just over that bar because Martin was a fraction off his line. That really was a good header by Graham. Just a fraction too high for all these Arsenal fans and Arsenal hopes. But so he's breathing fire as well. And Kennedy going to take up his position in that penalty area. Now the ball through with Storey. Radford on the turn. Oh, he did well there, and so did Martin. That really was a shot out of the blue, and Martin almost cold, I would think. Grabbed it very well indeed. McNabb. Armstrong to Graham. Kennedy coming for this one. Radford trying to take one on the turn. Oh, against the post. Well, they really had none of the luck there, but they're still keeping up this pressure. Graham. Armstrong completely free on his left. Here's Armstrong to curl another tantalising one. Kennedy going in. Gabriel to get it away. McClintock right up there. And still it won't get away for Southampton. Storey right in there now. Hustled and harried by Jenkins. Fisher getting it away. Arsenal's throw. Radford, who got up so well. So disappointing to see that one go past Martin against the post. Frank McClintock. Kennedy. Kirkup challenged by Armstrong. Good work by Armstrong. Oh, and what superb work by Radford. They very nearly made something out of nothing there. Armstrong. High again in that Southampton penalty area. And Martin has lost it. And Radford's put it there. No, not given. Not given. The referee has disallowed it. And indeed, it did seem there was pushing there in that 6-yard area. Radford most unhappy about it, but Mr. Sinclair, the referee from Guildford, absolutely adamant. Stern-faced and absolutely adamant. So the free kick to Southampton. Storey in for Samuels. Samuels with a shot. Oh, just past. Pushed there by goalkeeper Martin. That was a Samuels special. A Has Arsenal really put in one big last effort now? Once more the high one, once more Radford going in, and once more Samuels, oh, saved once more by Martin. Everybody bar Wilson now in the Southampton half of the field. Kennedy going in, and Radford on the turn and just past. One of those optical illusions. For a moment, I think so many people in this ground thought it had gone inside. Armstrong with the umpteenth corner for the Arsenal. And now McNabb driving it in and straight into the body of the goalkeeper again. And now Payne making almost a lone rush forward for Southampton, realising he was on his own. What a tremendous match Martin's had in this second half.
So Arsenal drop a point, but they're now winning some unexpected admirers.
That's it, give a smile to the viewers. They're a lovely smile, and now ask a question.
Who do you think are the main challenges for the league?
Well, Leeds are in a very, very good position, but I think Arsenal will probably win the title this year, the way they're playing. I know it may be the wrong thing to say back home, folks, but they look very good to me, Arsenal, this year, actually. They played very well against Tottenham, and they look a very good bet, I think, to challenge Leeds for the title.
And George Graham would hardly disagree with that, as Arsenal and Leeds made the Championship look like a two-horse race, with Leeds still the favourites. But now it was FA Cup time. Arsenal were drawn away from home in the third round, and they were going to get used to that in the next 4 months. Non-league Yeovil were their first opponents, where the infamous slope was less of a problem than the snow. A cash record set for a match on a Southern League ground, but the game was postponed for 4 days. So an enforced winter break for Arsenal, a weekend off, in what was going to be a season of 64 matches, 2 games a week for the last 10 weeks, and what Don Howe called a killing pace. This was to be the calm before the storm, and they still had to beat Yeovil.
It's never crossed your mind that you might lose this game, not even in a nightmare?
Well, I've thought about it. It'd be a terrible thing for Arsenal if we did get beaten. It is a possibility. I won't say it isn't, but I think it's very unlikely.
And when they did play, that thriving partnership of John Radford and Ray Kennedy did the trick. And 3 days later, it was back to the league. First game in 1971, a victory over a weakened West Ham side at Highbury. West Ham were without Moore, Greaves, Best and Deer after a breach of disciplinary rules. But that was followed by away defeats at Huddersfield and Liverpool. Then back home with 20-year-old Charlie George, now fit again.
The referee today, Bill Gower, Swansea, and now we bring you those first half highlights. The crowd is 46,000.
Now Arsenal away again with Armstrong. Will this be it? Oh my goodness, what a save by man. McNabb's throw. Linesman flagging, with the referee saying, I saw you, but we're going on. McNabb stopped by Booth. Lee coming back to help him. Then Lee losing it to Armstrong. McNabb again. Kennedy turning it again under that crossbar. And my goodness, Corrigan was pushed right at the end there. That really was a spectacular piece of goalkeeping in the end, but a speculative shot in the first place by Ray Kennedy. And almost getting it in there, Radford, and kicked off the line, but the whistle had gone. The whistle had gone, and one can only assume that it was for an infringement on Corrigan, the goalkeeper. So Arsenal's throw. Jeffries almost disappears into the crowd. In fact, he might well have injured himself there, but Arsenal going on. Heslop losing it. Samuels going in, and Corrigan down very quickly indeed. Bell pouncing on that one to Oakes, or rather to Lee. No, Lee now leaving it for Oakes. Bowyer getting up, and Doyle right up there as well, and Simpson giving him the treatment as Doyle looked in a position to try what could have been a difficult overhead shot for Bob Wilson to judge. And so it's Armstrong, Kennedy streaking on ahead of him, and Armstrong with room as well. Now to Radford, and Rice coming up fast on the right. Good cross by Rice. Kennedy at the far side, not just able to push it in. And it looked very much like a corner to me coming off Corrigan, but neither the referee nor the linesman would give anything other than a goal kick to Manchester City. Rice, who made a marvellous break down the right. McNabb, but Bell and Arsenal getting in each other's way. Heslop, Jeffries a bit muddled and finally out into a bit of space for Francis Lee. Bell, his henchman, is up with him, but that's not the sort of pass to find Colin Bell. Charlie George now for the Arsenal. Armstrong. George has gone on for a beautifully flighted ball from Armstrong to Radford. Beautiful stuff. And Samuels coming up hard on the other side. George trying to turn it back in. And Samuels getting it back this time as far as Rice. That really was a brilliant build-up there by the Arsenal. And there's City are still not out of the wood. Jeffries and now Story keeping up this pressure. A deep one this time. And it go in. Headed away by Heslop. But in fact, the whistle had gone for an infringement there by an Arsenal forward. And the free kick going to Manchester City. Bell at the far side. Bell getting ahead to it. McNabb cutting it out. Doyle right in there. Bell too. And still Bell there. A toe-ender and push past. Hill finding Doyle. 4-1 there by Doyle, but it's fallen for Manchester City. It's Bowyer now putting it inside the full-back to look for Bell. Oh, saved by Wilson. Bowyer going in again and saved again by Wilson. Twice that Arsenal defence hesitated, and twice Wilson was so sure. And Alan Oakes with it. Bowyer again getting there. Bell! Oh, blasting that one over. About the only real chance that Manchester City have had in the second half. And Bell putting it over. It must have been flicked there by Bob Wilson. He must just have got a touch to it. Only 5 minutes left now. Oakes to Doyle. And now to Lee, who really hasn't had very much to do in this second half. Samuels. Arsenal mounting another attack. Simpson. McNabb's gone down the left for him. Simpson going on. And going on again. And a good-looking drive. Oh, there it is! By Radford! There it is! John Radford! But it was this man, Simpson, the number 6, who went on and shot. And Radford who finished it off. 1-0. So there we are, less than 5 minutes to go.
Arsenal once again pursuing victory right to the end. But there were still question marks about the Gunners from some.
Well, Bob, that was a vital 2 points for Arsenal yesterday. It put you right back in the picture when everybody was sort of writing off the First Division race. What has been behind this bad spell that the critics have been suggesting you've had?
Well, I don't really think we've had such a bad spell, Jim. We haven't played as well as we can, and 1 or 2 players might have lost a little bit of confidence, but I don't think there's any team in the country can play 42 good games this season. And you're going to have indifferent games, you know. Yeah. And we've had 2 or 3 little bit indifferent, where we've played well in the first half and gone off in the second, or played badly in the first half and come back in the second.
How do you lose confidence when you're riding high as you are, in the Cup, in the Fairs Cup? You know, you're there in every competition. How are you going to lose confidence?
You tell me, I don't really know. But I think I lost a little bit of confidence a couple of weeks back, but I feel okay again now.
And yesterday, the most exciting man, I think, that we've seen for some time to emerge, the new Charlie George, came out and really delighted the crowd. This is one of the skills that that really, I think, sets the Arsenal team alight. He reminded me so much of Johnny Haynes in his passing ability, but there's more there too. Look at that off the outside of the foot. A beautiful pass to set up that attack. But his ability to hit long passes quickly is the thing that impressed me. No trouble at all. 40 yards and straight to a target. And when it's necessary in the middle of the field, he can think quickly, play off, there's a lovely bit of skill, play off a delicate ball and keep the attack going. I liked his running too. I thought there was a different determination about him yesterday. There's a run through, and look at the danger behind that ball across the goal mouth. But once again, we go back to the long through ball. This one, once he's made the space for himself, left foot, doesn't quite find the target. But we can look at two now that do. The highlight of the day for me, long passes. First of all, what about that skill with the toe there? Straight to their target, giving Kennedy that chance. And finally, another opportunity, and for me, the best ball of the lot, we'll see now coming up. In the middle of the field, just a moment to see where it's got to go. And how about that one, finding Kennedy in that space?
11 days later, Arsenal beat Manchester City again, away from home this time, in the 5th round of the FA Cup. Back in the league, it was Ipswich Town next, and Arsenal raced into a 3-0 half-time lead through goals from Frank McClintock, John Radford and Charlie George. They were in a hurry, and they needed to be. Leeds had opened up a 7-point gap at the beginning of the month, and although Arsenal had games in hand, the margin for error had disappeared. But Arsenal had more than their own form to encourage them. Leeds had been knocked out of the FA Cup by 4th Division Colchester. Yet in the second half here, a former Arsenal player made them rethink things. Jimmy Robertson pulled 2 goals back for struggling Ipswich to put the game unnecessarily in the balance. Arsenal still clearly the better side, but for once they'd mislaid the ruthlessness for which they were now feared. This was to be followed by a defeat at Derby, then a very impressive win at Wolves. The start, they said, of that gruelling sprint to the finishing line. Every game now attracting big crowds and special atmospheres, like the one at Selhurst Park for the 3rd match of the season with Crystal Palace.
A lot of atmosphere too. Hoadley. Still Hoadley, a flick now for Kemba. Can he turn it back? He can, and Birchnell going in for it, but McClintock getting ahead to it. McNabb only as far as Sewell. Kemba again, still Palace piling it on. Just against the bar, and Scott just passed. My goodness, how close. McClintock. Graham at the far side there, getting him in his head. There it is, George Graham. Arsenal supporters delighted, and a fine cross there by McClintock. Graham rising, he hasn't missed a thing in the air, connecting with that one just inside the far post. So with 27 minutes gone, Arsenal go into the lead through George Graham. McClintock firmly on his body. Graham. Oh, the cheek of it, leaving it for Radford, and Radford sweeping it now for Armstrong. Arsenal playing some great stuff now. Armstrong still setting himself up for a shot. Oh, fine save by Jackson. Story and Samuels, and now McNabb of all people. McNabb, oh, into the side netting with it. Furious with himself. John Sewell, I can't think why he's trying to put it in the corner flag there. It seems as though he wants to waste time. In any case, it's Arsenal in possession again with George Graham. McClintock right up there on this side of the field, and Radford going in with a header, and Samuels too, and there it is, a deflection off McCormick, but the credit must go to Samuels.
Victory, but no hysteria. A clear win here, but in the cup it had taken a replay and a Charlie George goal to reach the last 4.
First, it's the FA Cup semi-final, the Hillsborough Copper tumble of noise and colour. For this one, Arsenal against Stoke. Those fellas up there are the Arsenal supporters at that end of the ground. And first of all, let's have a look at the Arsenal team for this semi-final. And Arsenal are unchanged, as expected. The only thing that needed settling was the substitute, and John Samuels gets that place instead of Eddie Kelly. A semi-final with 2 great goalkeepers. For Arsenal, of course, Bob Wilson, a man who somehow epitomises the unspectacular yet reliable qualities of Arsenal. As for Stoke City, something of a surprise to find Mahoney brought in at 7. Greenhoff takes the 4 shirt. Skeels goes back to 2, and fullback Marsh becomes the sub. But if Arsenal have Bob Wilson, Stoke have Gordon Banks, their skipper and the world's #1. The crowd is 55,000 strong. They've paid £80,000 for this one. The referee, Pat Partridge of Middlesbrough.
So a corner to Stoke. Burrows, who takes them from both sides. Low one against Smith, getting in. Conroy there as well. And Story! Oh, against it, it's in! Oh, an absolutely freak goal. And it puts Stoke into the lead. That might have come off any one of 5 players. Oh, now Kennedy. Can Kennedy turn it? Oh, great work by Banks. Oh, and he's almost lost it. And the whistle had gone. It must have been kicked out of his hands unfairly. Tremendous reactions, though, by Gordon Banks getting down so quickly on that one. A real daunting prospect for the Arsenal, really, when they're this goal down. A freak goal, to be sure. And now they've got to beat this man, the world's #1. So Banks with the free kick for Stoke City. Oh, straight off Radford. Are we going to get another strange goal? George Graham to Charlie George. Turned on nicely there for Radford. A little lucky there. And now Story. Oh, hammering it though. Kennedy. Oh, just past. And Banks coming out to remonstrate with Pat Partridge. Probably more out of relief than anger. Harry Burrows. Oh, a nice little flick on there. Simpson as cool as you like. Oh, Charlie George! This is the chance! Ritchie! And 2-0! Charlie George's back pass! And Arsenal, disaster for him! And it could well be disaster now for Arsenal. Ritchie, the simplest of goals. In for Greenough. Beautiful skills by Greenough. And Mahoney away! McClintock hesitated. Mahoney! And straight into Wilson. And George Graham and Peter Story having a right word with the referee. They felt he should have been given up offside, but he was onside when that ball was played. And so it's Arsenal's throw with George Armstrong. Over the head of Skeels to Kennedy. Now Radford and Graham leaping at that far side. And Story to hammer it! And a goal! You've got to give it to Story! And Arsenal back in it! Radford and Graham jumped so beautifully for it, and it finally came out for Story. There was a ricochet, but Peter Story really hammered it. And so Arsenal's free kick. McClintock with it. Charlie George right up there, and Bloor to get it away. Only Greenough up. And Greenough! Now here's a break for Stoke City. McClintock trying to get back. Greenough over the top! Tremendous break by Greenoff. And Armstrong saying, how can I take it quickly with the referee standing over it? Now he can take it. Armstrong going in, or rather Graham going in. Samuels with a shot. And another flick, and it's wide, and a corner. And again, Banks having it out with the referee. I've never seen Gordon Banks argue as much as he's argued this afternoon. We've now played 45 seconds of injury time as Armstrong takes this last gasp corner for the Arsenal. Everybody up and heading off the line. Was it a penalty? It's a penalty because it was pushed off the line by Mahoney. And so Arsenal, in the very last seconds, have a penalty. Story is the man with the terrible responsibility. Story, who has scored in 4 penalties this season, now faces Gordon Banks, the #1 goalkeeper in the world, and there are Arsenal players who dare not watch. Story versus Banks, Wembley at stake, and he's done it! Story has equalised! 2-2, And you cannot get a more dramatic semi-final than this. Arsenal reprieved with almost the very last kick.
But what about that penalty and the wonderful coolness of Peter Storey in taking it at that very last minute? Before he'd hardly got his breath back yesterday, I asked him about it.
Well, so was it a corner or a free kick? I can't remember, really. I think Frank got up to it and headed it down, and someone punched it away, didn't they?
That's right.
And,
Mahoney. Now
Mahoney,
tell us about the moments leading up to striking that ball past Gordon Banks, though. What were you thinking about?
I was praying, really. I thought, it's got to go in. We can't miss it now. Yeah.
The most important kick you've probably ever taken in your life, I would think, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah, I think so. Yeah. Must be. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. But you've had some success with penalties this season, of course, haven't you?
Yeah, I think it's the 5th or 6th one I've scored. I've missed one in the first cut, but I've had quite a few in the last minute. 3, I think. That's my 3rd one in the last minute, I think.
Yeah, don't keep doing that for the sake of Arsenal supporters. What about the first one you scored? After 50 minutes?
Yeah, it just got knocked down, and I come on the edge of the box and hit it on the volley. I didn't see it going, actually. I went through a crowd of players and...
Slight deflection, I think.
Yeah, I think it caught someone's shoulder or something, didn't it?
But credit to Peter Storey. Did you think you were lost when you were 2 down at half-time?
Well, we felt a bit down, you know, but we come out, you know, decided to have a go in the second half, and it worked out in the end. We gave them 2 goals, I think, you know, in the first half. We had 2 bad goals. I thought we played quite well, really. You know.
And they played even better in the replay at Villa Park, and goals from George Graham and Ray Kennedy put them into the final. This was followed immediately by Chelsea in the lead, who the previous week had beaten Leeds 3-1 to help, indirectly, the Arsenal cause as the battle and the pace hotted up.
A few boos coming up from the Chelsea supporters and a free kick for their team. Hudson really was knocked to the ground there by Storey. Hollins with the throw, and the linesman's flag's gone up. Osgood, he's flicked it. Has it gone over? But no, the whistle had gone in any case on that goal line, and the linesman had his flag up a long time before the whistle went as well. So there were 2 offences there, but Chelsea desperately close to going ahead. Oh, Harris getting in there, and in fact I think Harris was playing the ball, but he must have connected with Armstrong. The linesman was right there and flagging, and the referee endorsed what he said, and so it's a free kick again against this Chelsea skipper. Again to the Arsenal with Armstrong, floating it once more. Kennedy looking for it, but Webb in fact getting ahead to it first, and Webb, having cleared it to Baldwin, was streaking up the field himself. Kennedy turning it on. Webb now trying to get back as Radford turns it in, and just wide there by George Graham. Kennedy to George Graham. Little one towards the near post. Storey going in! Oh, against the post! What a beautiful cross, though, by Graham. And Storey, of all people, popping up in that 6-yard area. There he is. Charlie Cook with the corner, though. Dempsey and Osgood. Dempsey getting ahead to it, and Baldwin to flick it in, but in fact the whistle had gone, because Dempsey was levering himself up onto the shoulders of an Arsenal defender. Charlie George again bursting in on the scene there, and McCready going with him, but he still found Radford, and now George Graham. Armstrong coming in on it. Beautifully played there by Armstrong. Oh, and a dummy there, there's Kennedy in! Oh, a fine goal by Kennedy! Armstrong played his part, George played his part, and so too did Ray Kennedy. Rice with the free kick towards the far post there. Radford with his head just over. Climbing well at that far side, John Radford. Chelsea coming forward now in a fair bit of strength, but being pushed back once more. And now George to fasten on this one to show his speed. Radford, George, and now Kennedy claims for offside, but not given, and a second goal! absolutely delighted, and as that one came across, Chelsea was standing still, and Kennedy controlled it beautifully to hammer that ball low past Phillips to put Arsenal 2-0 ahead.
Another valuable win. But the Bertie Mee Don Howe philosophy of letting the action do the talking was severely tested when Arsenal were forced to play their rearranged game with Spurs 5 days before the cup final. But unless Arsenal could keep the winning run going, that date with Spurs might be meaningless. By the time they played Newcastle at Highbury, the gap at the top had been closed, and Leeds, under relentless pursuit by Arsenal, were wobbling. But they needed a match winner here, and they found one. An obvious candidate. He'd been having a poor game, he'd been booked, and then he scores an exceptional goal. Charlie George. Since he'd come back in February, he'd won a couple of cup ties like that, but this was even tastier. Leeds had lost at home to West Brom, Arsenal were top on goal average, and the chase goes on.
Now some more action for you to enjoy, and it's that vital match at West Bromwich Albion yesterday, with Arsenal still under great pressure, but they fought magnificently in a game that really had its full quota of goals and thrills as well.
Pat Rice forward to Storey. Storey in a little difficulty from time to time this afternoon. It's Hartford now. Astle, Hartford, the return ball. Hartford! Oh, what a great little goal! What a magnificent little goal from Asa Hartford. His first goal for 5 months, and he won't do much better than that this season. 37 minutes gone. Asa Hartford gives West Bromwich Albion a 1-0 lead. Arsenal get their second corner of the game. Armstrong with it. Oh, it's a good one. And hooked away for George. And it must be McClintock. Got to be McClintock. But the fellow who really set that up was Charlie George. There he is, number 11. He's the man who really set it up. McClintock's job to get on the end of it was relatively simple. But he's a happy fellow, the captain of Arsenal. 1-1 the scoreline. Bradford spending a fair bit of time forward in a left side position. Is John Samuels on as substitute for Pat Rice. Charlie George waiting for Storey to make the run. Hartford is going to score an own goal. Hartford has scored an own goal, and he is 6-6-6-6-6. John Kay. Wild little touch on for Astle. And now Tony Brown. And he doesn't miss those. Tony Brown, as we've just said, so little of the game for him to see in the second half. Almost inspired by my words, and drags a goal back for West Bromwich Albion with 4 minutes to go. 2-2 the score.
The first reward for Arsenal's fine season went to captain Frank McClintock, the player of the year, for a combination of his ability and leadership. He claimed that the trophy really belonged in the Arsenal dressing room. Bill Shankly said of him, his head isn't big, but his heart is, a real competitor. But when it came to real competition, the game which was sure to make the sparks fly was at Elland Road, between the two sides who'd been contesting the championship all season. For Arsenal at the top of the table by 1 point, there were 2 games remaining after this one. Leeds had only 1, so the pressure was really on them. And they also had to play Liverpool in the European Fairs Cup semi-final 48 hours later. It was a game of tension, excitement, mistakes, and finally, of controversy. The controversy came 2 minutes from the end. The ball is stabbed through to Jack Charlton. Surely he's offside. A rebound off the post, McNabb's desperate effort, but it's in and it stands. Leeds are ahead as Arsenal's protests begin. They know they'll never come back from this one if it's allowed to stand. Leeds celebrate. It's a goal, they think, which has kept them in the championship hunt. The referee, Norman Burtonshaw from Great Yarmouth, the man who'll take charge of the cup final, is mobbed. The players, not the only protesters, but defensively, the police were strong with goalscorer Jack Charlton sweeping up. The Arsenal players understandably distraught. A few days later, after they'd seen the video replay of the incident, they acknowledged the referee and the linesman had been right. But here the result stands. Leeds go back to the top of the table. But victory in the penultimate game against Stoke, while Leeds were finishing their season with a win over Nottingham Forest, meant Arsenal's destiny was still in their own hands. Even before they'd won a trophy, the honours were beginning to flow, as slowly but surely, the years of playing in the shadow of the great Arsenal teams of the past were put firmly behind them. There was a welcome break to receive the honorary freedom of the London Borough of Islington, conferred on them for their success, for their consistently high standards of sportsmanship, and not least for the pleasure they brought to the people of Islington, at the same time maintaining Arsenal's highest traditions. Yet everyone in the borough, the club and the country was well aware, as the Lord Mayor made the presentation to Arsenal's chairman, Mr. Dennis Hill-Wood, that their chances of getting their hands on the exclusive double now rested on just 2 matches. It was incredible that the match that would decide the championship should be at White Hart Lane of all places, against the old rival. The game attracted a gate of almost 52,000. Police estimated as many as another 50,000 were locked out. The issue crystal clear. A win or a goalless draw would win the championship. Anything else, inconceivable. A week earlier, all had seemed lost at Leeds 2 minutes from the end. At White Hart Lane, the timing was the same, the situation very different. Frankly, Arsenal never looked like losing this one. And Spurs had Pat Jennings to thank on a number of occasions. But in the 88th minute, Arsenal made certain of the points and the championship through Ray Kennedy. The match winner, the championship winner. An incredible finale for Arsenal, their supporters, and particularly for young Kennedy. Still only 19, drafted into the side at the beginning of the season only because of injury to more experienced players. He ends the season as the club's leading scorer and a national hero. But of course, they still had those last frantic seconds to endure. And then the final whistle. Arsenal are the champions, confirmed in the last 2 minutes of the last game of a 9-month season. And if they couldn't win it at Highbury, what better place than White Hart Lane, where 10 years before, Spurs had won the double. So Arsenal's 29th victory, they're the 1971 champions. There was very little time to enjoy the post-match champagne or the Tuesday morning headlines because training began the next day for the FA Cup final. And Arsenal, the champions, had been left sitting pretty and permanently on top of the First Division. In the FA Cup, they'd survived away draws in every round. Psychologically, they were well equipped.
To me, Liverpool was saying yesterday they thought the Arsenal side might be a bit drained out after this long battle for the league, are they?
Yes, well, Liverpool are very good at making statements of this nature. It's part of the war of nerves that they practice. It doesn't cut much ice with us. We're not drained. If anything, we're going into the cup final in a better frame of mind, indeed, than last Saturday, for instance.
It's 10 years now since Spurs did the double. If you do it on Saturday afternoon, would that be a more considerable footballing achievement, do you think?
Yes, I think so. I think the game is now much more difficult than it was. It's becoming more and more difficult to earn and win points. And I think any club at the present time and in the years to come who can do the double, with all the pressures and extra games that we have to contend with, I think have proved themselves probably better than their counterparts 10 and 30 years ago.
Bill Shankly's Liverpool had everything going for them in their FA Cup run. They'd had home draws for every round. They conceded only 1 goal in the competition, and that was in the semi-final against Everton. And they were fresher, they said, and well prepared. Yet Arsenal's competitive edge, their winning streak, wasn't going to disappear just because they'd done the hard bit. Bertie Mee and Don Howe had led them through many tough battles together in 9.5 months. could they reach the heights one last time?
And McClintock winning that one well in the air. George Graham, a nice little touch off there for Charlie George. And he let that one go! He really does strike those balls beautifully. And now Charlie George to Story. Radford. Armstrong's made a run towards the far side. Armstrong! My goodness, that was close! Armstrong completely undetected. Reluctant to go, but they'll have to go. Smith standing over the ball. Also close at hand we have Callaghan. And there's Callaghan playing it off for Lindsay, left-footed. Oh, fine save! Now can Lawler turn it back? Good work by Wilson. McNabb, and now Radford. Oh, trying to lift that over Smith's head. He lifts it forward for Kennedy. Oh, what a miss! That was some fine work there as Kennedy applauding his fellow striker Radford. McNabb again. Story to leap for this one and beaten though, and Charlie George to belt it. My goodness, he hit that. There's nobody on this field who hits a sweeter ball than Charlie George, but that was wide. But it had tremendous power. Kennedy to Charlie George. Swung towards the left, and there's Kelly and Radford here. Kelly. Radford. And a first-time cross there. Kennedy turning it down. Made that very nicely indeed. Was always leading his defender by half a yard. But it's Radford to take it. To summon up an effort for a long one. George Graham will try and flick it on. My goodness, he almost got it there. And flicked away finally with the skipper doing a skipper's job, the number 4, Tommy Smith. And now the corner. Almost there again by Graham, and Liverpool in terrible trouble until Larry Lloyd finally gets it away from Graham's header. And now Thompson to Hughes, pounding away. Highway over on the far side, covered by McClintock. Highway versus McClintock, and Highway turning it back, and Wilson there, off the foot of Bob McNabb. John Howe suffering as well, and Bertie Mee. Lloyd, a nod side Radford, trying to make something of it, and Kennedy's all right, he's onside. Oh, just past that post. Tossing up again to see which end they shall play. And we really could have a most dramatic period of extra time now. Lloyd winning it again. Hughes to Thompson, and away on the left is Highway. Still Highway, dangerous indeed! Oh, goal! Oh, that's the goal! Steve Highway for Liverpool. A man who has done so little in the game has made the one big strike.
And here it is now. It's the first time he's taken his man on in the game. He's streaked for that line, which he loves doing. Bob Wilson had come too far off his post there, and it was in on the near post. Really, a goalkeeper shouldn't be beaten like that. In fact, we've seen Highway do that before on television. Squeeze it in where the ball shouldn't go.
Kennedy. George and Kennedy again. Radford, back over his head. Kelly is right in there, playing much more as a striker in this extra time. And it's there! George Graham! It's George Graham who got the touch and makes it 1-1. So 1-1 now. Kelly, who was right up there amongst the strikers.
Well, it was a kind of muddled goal, this. The ball went up high. John Radford flicks it up and takes a chance. Says, somebody go for that. and Eddie Kelly goes for it, although he's got no chance. And as the Liverpool defenders dither, George Graham's there, gets a toe to it, and it dribbles past Clements into the net.
And the end of the first period of extra time. 15 minutes to go. McClintock still doing his captain's work. And whether it's in any way significant or not, it seems that Arsenal are much more prepared now to go on with this game. Liverpool hanging back a little bit. A long ball to Kennedy, and Kennedy is onside. But he hadn't quite got the power to get there, and Tommy Smith had a tremendous piece of defence. Smith giving the linesman a few words. He thinks that Kennedy was offside. But Mr. Q said no, he wasn't. But a superb piece of defence by Smith for all that. Lloyd has played well, and Clements, two great heroes in this Liverpool defence, and Smith. But we're going to have Radford, who looks as though he's going to take another long throw. Aiming again towards George Graham. Lawler, in fact, who got ahead to that one. Simpson! Turned it back over his own head. Graham, Radford, Charlie George. Radford. Oh, Charlie George, who can hit him. Oh, a great goal! Charlie George! Oh, what a fabulous goal by George! Clements had no chance with that. And that puts Arsenal into the lead.
What a marvellous goal there from Charlie George. Absolutely superb. A good ball there from John Radford. He sees his moment and then whack. Look how far it is from the post. Inches. Fantastic goal.
And now we have the side of Arsenal players on the ground. Graham was down, Rice was down. They're on their feet again, and the Arsenal crowd are absolutely delirious because Arsenal now are less than 10 minutes away from doing the double. They come from North London. And it's all over. And Arsenal have won, and they've done the double. Frank McClintock, his losing streak at Wembley is over. 4 times here a loser, and now a brave and brilliant winner. Liverpool players lying exhausted on the turf, shattered after going up, and then falling behind. So Arsenal, what a week. On Monday, they clinched the league championship, and 5 days later, they complete the double. No wonder he's smiling. A word for Chris Lawler. Even the Kop are paying tribute, I fancy, to their own brave heroes and to the Arsenal as well, because that's the sort of fair-minded crowd that come from Liverpool. Well done, the Kop. A magnificent double, says the scoreboard for the Arsenal. Hard luck, Liverpool, and nobody would argue with that.
Now, I thought that the first Arsenal goal was scored by George Graham, and so too did practically every journalist in the press box. We can show you now that, in fact, it was scored by Eddie Kelly. You'll see John Radford lift the ball over his own head, high into the air, and Eddie Kelly will challenge for it. What you've got to watch out for in a moment is as George Graham comes in to make his late challenge. There's Kelly going for the ball, and it'll come off the chest of Tommy Smith, and Kelly will get another touch. Now watch Graham coming in from the right of the picture. Does he touch that ball? We say he doesn't.
First Division champions, FA Cup winners, an immense double achievement. Questioned, even criticised, the facts told their own historic story. There could be only one verdict.